The first time it works, you don't even realize it happened. You say something small. You adjust your tone slightly. You time the silence just right. And the other person folds, gives you what you wanted, smiles like it was their idea. You walk away feeling like you finally understand something about how people work. Something no one ever taught you. Something you figured out on your own. That feeling is the door opening. You step through it. Level 1. The discovery. You're 19, maybe 22. You're not powerful. You don't have money or status or connections. What you have is attention. A sharp eye for what people want to hear, what they're afraid of, what they're pretending not to need. You start small. You notice your manager responds better when you make him feel like the smartest person in the room. You notice your girlfriend relaxes when you apologize first, even when you're not wrong. You notice that people give you more when you ask less. These aren't tactics yet. They're observations. Pattern recognition. You're not manipulating anyone. You're just paying attention. That's what you tell yourself. You get a raise 3 months before anyone else on your team. Your social circle starts orienting around you. People call you perceptive, charming, easy to talk to. You feel the shift. Something is being handed to you, not because of what you do, but because of how you make people feel while you do it. You store that knowledge, quietly, like something valuable you found on the ground. Level 2. The practice. Now you start testing it deliberately. You read a book, then another. Body language, persuasion, the psychology of influence. You don't tell anyone. You start treating every conversation like a soft experiment, adjusting variables, observing outcomes. You learn that people trust you faster when you mirror their posture. You learn that asking for something small before asking for something big almost always works. You learn that withholding approval is more powerful than giving it. None of this feels dark to you yet. It feels like efficiency. You get better at reading rooms. You know who in any group is insecure, who is performing, who actually has authority versus who just talks the loudest. You see the architecture of social dynamics the way a contractor sees load-bearing walls. Invisible to most people, obvious to you. You start using this at work, in negotiations, in relationships. You clear a $12,000 commission by knowing exactly when to go quiet in a sales call and let the client's anxiety do the closing for you. The other reps don't understand why your numbers are better. You don't explain. There is a small voice occasionally, late at night. It asks whether what you're doing is fair. Whether the people around you would be comfortable if they could see the mental calculations happening behind your eyes. You answer the voice the same way every time. Everyone does this. You're just better at it. Level 3. The system. You stop thinking about individual interactions and start thinking about systems. One person is a conversation. 20 people is a network. A network, managed correctly, is infrastructure. You identify 3 or 4 people in your orbit who have access to things you want. Information, introductions, money, opportunity. You invest in those relationships asymmetrically. You give more than you take early. You make yourself useful, memorable, irreplaceable. You build what some people would call loyalty. What you know it actually is, dependency. When someone needs something, they call you. And when you need something, they feel obligated. Not because you asked for anything in return. Because the math of the relationship makes it feel like they owe you. This is the level where things get clean and invisible at the same time. You're not asking anyone for favors. You're architecting situations where favors flow naturally in your direction. You get a job offer through someone you helped 3 years ago, someone you barely thought about since. The offer is $85,000 more than your current salary. You take it. You send a handwritten thank you note. You feel efficient, organized, like someone who finally understands how the world actually works. The voice from level 2 is quieter now. Not gone, just tired. Level 4. The operator. You're inside a real structure now. An organization, a company, an industry. And you understand without being told that the official hierarchy is not the real one. The real hierarchy runs on information and access. Who knows what first? Who can make problems disappear? Who has history with the person at the top? You spend 6 months mapping it. Quietly. You say little in large meetings. You watch who defers to whom when the stakes are real. You identify the person in the room who everyone pretends isn't powerful but who everyone is actually trying to impress. You get close to that person. Not aggressively. Patiently. You find out what they actually care about. Not what they say they care about, but what keeps them up at night, what they're quietly afraid of losing. Then you make yourself the solution to that problem. By month 9, you're in rooms you weren't invited to a year ago. You make decisions that affect people's careers. You don't think of it that way. You think of it as managing outcomes. A colleague who undermined you in a meeting 6 months ago now reports to someone you placed. He doesn't know you did it. He'll never know. He just notices that things seem slightly harder for him than they used to be. You clear $310,000 in total compensation this year. You have an apartment in a neighborhood you couldn't have afforded 3 years ago. Your name is starting to mean something in your industry. You feel like you've arrived. You haven't arrived. You've just gotten access to the next door. Level 5. The leverage. Everything at this level is leverage. Not money. Not titles. Leverage, the kind that comes from knowing things other people would pay to keep quiet, or from holding resources other people need, or from being positioned between two parties who can't talk to each other without going through you. You become the middle of things. The connector. The person who brokers. You don't give information, you exchange it. You don't do favors, you create mutual interests. Every relationship is now a transaction, even the ones that look like friendships. Especially those. You have a small group around you. For maybe 5 people. They are loyal to you in the way that people are loyal when they believe their futures are linked to yours. They do almost anything you asked. They have done almost anything you asked. You don't feel guilty about this. You feel responsible. That's what power does when it matures. It starts to feel like obligation. You sit across from someone at dinner who is asking you for something significant. They're smiling. They're warm. They think this is a collegial conversation. You know that in 90 seconds you're going to say something that will restructure their understanding of their own position, and that afterward, they will agree to terms they came in unwilling to accept. You do it cleanly. No raised voices. No threats. You simply show them the shape of their situation in a light they hadn't seen it in before. They agree. You pick up the check. On the drive home you notice you feel nothing. Not satisfied. Not guilty. Nothing. You catalog the evening the way you'd catalog a completed task. That absence of feeling, you tell yourself it's focus. Discipline. Maturity. Level 6. The authority. People you've never met make decisions based on what they think you want. That's the thing nobody warns you about authority. You stop needing to be in the room. Your reputation precedes you so far that it functions on its own. People anticipate you. They adjust their behavior before you arrive. You oversee a division of 200 people. A portfolio worth $40 million. A network of relationships built over a decade of careful cultivation. You have an assistant who knows never to schedule meetings before 10 a.m. You have a lawyer on retainer. You have 3 people whose sole function is to monitor your interests in areas you no longer have time to monitor yourself. Your inner circle has thinned. Not because of conflict, because of filtration. The people who couldn't keep up fell away. The people who were loyal but not useful got moved to the periphery. The people who remain are the ones who are both competent and dependent on you. You trust them the way you trust tools, as long as they're maintained and used correctly. You are rarely surprised anymore. You've engineered your environment to the point where most outcomes are already decided before they happen. Occasionally someone underestimates you. A new player who hasn't learned your history. Someone who mistakes your quietness for weakness. You let it develop. You observe. You wait until the moment of maximum exposure. Then you correct it once decisively and you don't explain yourself afterward. The lesson spreads without you saying a word. Level 7. The architect. You build systems now instead of running them. You create structures, organizations, agreements, frameworks that continue operating whether you're present or not. Your influence moves through other people without them realizing they're carrying it. You have holdings in 7 industries. You know 4 sitting senators by their personal cell numbers. 2 of them call you before they call their own staff when something significant is about to move. Money has stopped feeling like money. It's just a unit for measuring leverage. You have a home in 3 cities. You spend the majority of your time in one of them, but you could disappear from all 3 and the systems would keep running for months before anyone noticed a gap. People write about you in trade publications. Some of it is accurate. None of it captures what you actually do. You have lunch with an old friend once a month. Someone from before, from the early days, someone who knew you when you were still figuring it out. You sit across from them and listen to them talk about their life, their mortgage, their kids, a promotion they're hoping for. You feel something during these lunches. Not nostalgia exactly. Something older than that. A recognition of distance. A sense of how far the current has carried you from the shore. You don't feel superior to your friend. You feel separate. Like you've become a different category of thing. You don't say this out loud. You pick up the check. Level 8. The ghost. No one talks about you in the room you're actually in. They talk about you everywhere else. In rooms you'll never enter. In conversations between people who have never met you. Your name is a reference point, a way of measuring where something sits in the order of things. You move through the world with almost no visible footprint. Your name is attached to very little in writing. What you own is owned by structures that own other structures. What you do is done by people who do it on behalf of other people. You are 50, maybe 58. You are healthy. You have access to things, medical, legal, logistical, that most people don't know exist. You wake up in the morning and for exactly 3 seconds before full consciousness sets in, you feel like yourself. Like the person from before all of it. Like someone who still has options. Then the day begins. Your phone shows 14 messages that require your attention. Not from anyone you love. That group is very small now and they know not to message in the morning. These are from operators, from counsel, from intermediaries. Each message represents a decision somewhere in the architecture that needs your signal before it moves. You have everything. You also have nothing that requires nothing from you. The relationships in your life are maintained the way you maintain everything else, strategically. You care about people in your way. But caring and connecting are not the same thing anymore, and somewhere along the way you stop being able to tell the difference. The version of you that walked through the first door, curious, hungry, a little reckless, that version is not dead. It's just buried under 30 years of optimization. You built exactly what you set out to build. You sit at the window of a 34th floor apartment in a city that doesn't know your name but runs partially on your decisions, and you watch the street below and you feel the weight of it, not as regret, not as pride, but as simple mass. The accumulated gravity of every choice, every trade, everything you let yourself become in order to get here. No one is coming to take it from you. No one is coming at all. That is the definition of the top. Not freedom. Not happiness. Arrival.